Chapter 7: The Curse Unveiled. The cave's atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive as Adrian trailed Cale deeper into its labyrinthine depths. The air turned colder and thicker, pressing down on him with a weight that seemed to intensify with each step. The flickering lantern cast a dim, wavering light, which struggled to dispel the darkness and threw long, distorted shadows across the uneven walls. These shadows seemed to writhe and shift as if alive, adding to the eerie ambience of the cavern. Every footfall Adrian made reverberated through the cave, the sound magnified as though the cave itself was attuned to their presence. Cale moved ahead with an ethereal grace that belied the gravity of their situation. His steps were smooth and fluid, as if he glided rather than walked, and his presence seemed almost otherworldly in the shifting light. Despite his elegance, there was a tangible sorrow in Cale's demeanor that Adrian could sense from a distance. It was a melancholy that seemed to emanate from the prince, infusing the cave with an additional layer of unease. This sadness added to the already heavy atmosphere, making Adrian acutely aware of the stakes of their journey. The further they ventured, the more Adrian felt a growing sense of anticipation and trepidation. The cave's oppressive cold seemed to seep into his bones, and the relentless echoes of their passage created an almost hypnotic rhythm. Cale's sorrowful presence and the cave's labyrinthine twists combined to form an unsettling backdrop, underscoring the gravity of their quest. Adrian could feel that whatever lay ahead would not only test their courage, but also reveal profound truths about the treasure, the curse, and themselves. After what felt like an eternity of winding through the cave's passages, Adrian and Cale finally emerged into a smaller chamber, secluded and far removed from the entrance. The chamber was a hidden sanctum, its walls adorned with elaborate carvings that seemed to pulsate with an ancient energy. The intricate depictions brought to life a world of the sea, showcasing merfolk in elegant, fluid movements as they navigated their watery realm. These images painted a vivid picture of the oceanic beauty and grace that Adrian had only glimpsed in tales and legends. Yet, amid the sea's splendor, the carvings took a darker turn. The reliefs began to shift from scenes of aquatic harmony to unsettling portrayals of torment and despair. Figures were shown bound by chains, their bodies contorted and their faces etched with expressions of sheer agony. These tragic scenes starkly contrasted with the previous depictions of freedom and fluidity, illustrating the cruel transformation of the merfolk from their natural habitat to a land that bound them in misery. The weight of their suffering seemed to hang heavy in the chamber, adding a palpable sense of dread. Adrian's gaze moved over the carvings, absorbing the full impact of their story. The artistry spoke of a profound anguish experienced by beings torn from their world and forced into exile. The chamber, with its hauntingly beautiful and tragic artwork, revealed the deeper consequences of the curse that bound Cale and his kin. It was a sobering reminder of the price paid for defiance, and the weight of the magic that protected the treasure they sought. As Adrian stood amidst the ancient depictions, he felt an intensified resolve, knowing that their journey would demand more than just bravery. It would require an understanding of the true cost of the treasure. Cale came to a halt before one of the carvings, his attention fixed intently on a particular image. The carving depicted a mermaid whose elegant tail was mid-transformation into human legs. The mermaid's form was captured in a moment of poignant transition, as her once fluid, thin lower half melded into legs that stretched toward the ocean. Her face was etched with a deep, aching longing, her eyes reflecting a desperate yearning to return to the water from which she was being forcibly separated. The intricate details of the carving conveyed a profound sense of loss, as though the very act of transformation was both a gift and a curse. Cale's fingers traced the contours of the carving, his expression a mixture of sadness and recognition. The mermaid's plight resonated deeply with him, reflecting his own struggle and the pain of being bound to land against his will. The image seemed to encapsulate the emotional turmoil of those who had been torn from their aquatic home, their bodies altered to suit an existence they never chose. It was a stark reminder of the sacrifices made by his people and the sorrow embedded in their history. As Cale stood there, lost in the silent narrative of the carving, Adrian watched him with a growing understanding of the personal stakes involved. The mermaid's transformation was not just a symbol of physical change, but a metaphor for the deep, emotional rift experienced by those cursed to live between worlds. The carving story seemed to echo Cale's own predicament, casting a shadow over the chamber and adding layers of meaning to their quest. Adrian felt the weight of their mission more acutely, realizing that their pursuit of the treasure was intertwined with the ancient, tragic fate of the merfolk. "This is where it began," Cale said softly, his voice heavy with the weight of centuries. He stood before the carving, the flickering lantern light casting somber shadows on his face. "The curse that binds me, that keeps me from returning to the sea, originated here. My people were proud, perhaps too proud, and it was this very pride that led us to this tragic fate." His words were laden with a sorrowful gravity, as if each syllable carried the burden of countless years of suffering. Cale's gaze remained fixed on the depiction of the mermaid, her yearning captured in stone. "We sought to claim the treasure, believing that our strength and might could overcome any barrier," he continued, his tone reflecting the deep regret of hindsight. "But the power we sought was guarded by forces far beyond our comprehension. The curse was not just a punishment for our greed but a lesson in humility, a harsh reminder of the balance that we had disrupted." His voice trailed off, leaving a lingering silence that spoke of unspoken losses and hard-earned wisdom. The cave seemed to grow colder as Cale spoke, the shadows deepening around them. Adrian felt the weight of Cale's words, understanding now that the curse was not merely a tale but a reality born from the hubris of a once mighty civilization. The weight of history and the cost of ambition seemed to press down on both men as they stood in the dim light, the carvings around them bearing silent witness to the ancient wrongs that had led to this moment. Adrian stepped closer, his lantern casting an eerie glow over the intricate carvings. The images on the walls seemed to come alive under the light, their details stark and haunting. The pain depicted in the stone was so vivid, it felt as though the artists had poured their own suffering into each chiseled figure. Each expression, every twist of the stone seemed to convey a depth of anguish that was almost palpable, pulling Adrian into the tragic narrative captured within the walls. "What happened?" Adrian asked, his voice tinged with a mix of dread and curiosity. His eyes remained fixed on the carvings, unable to look away from the tableau of suffering and despair. Despite his resolve, a part of him recoiled from the thought of what such a curse might entail, the very real fear that it might be more terrible than he could imagine. The weight of the carving's silent story pressed down on him, filling him with an uneasy anticipation. Cale's response was slow, each word heavy with the burden of his experiences. "The carvings tell of a great tragedy," he began, his voice resonating with the sorrow of centuries. "When my people sought the treasure, they were met not just with resistance but with a force that knew no mercy. The magic that protected the treasure was relentless, punishing those who sought to claim it with a fate worse than death. We were torn from our home, bound to the land as a cruel reminder of our arrogance. The curse not only confined us but also sought to break our spirits, ensuring that our suffering would echo through the ages." Cale's gaze lingered on the carving as he began to recount the ancient tale, his voice a mournful melody that seemed to resonate with the sorrow etched into the stone. "Long ago," he said, his tone laden with nostalgia and regret, "my people ruled the oceans with a dominion that spanned the depths of the seas. We were free, roaming wherever the currents carried us, masters of the vast, watery realms we called home. Our existence was one of harmony and balance, deeply intertwined with the ancient mysteries of the deep." His eyes, filled with a distant, haunting sadness, reflected the gravity of his words. "We were the guardians of the deep, keepers of secrets that predated even the oldest of human legends. Our power seemed boundless, and our knowledge unparalleled. We believed ourselves to be invincible, our might unchallenged by any force, whether mortal or mystical. The sea was our domain, and we reveled in the freedom it bestowed upon us. But in our pride," Cale continued, his voice faltering slightly, "we lost sight of the balance we were sworn to uphold. We sought to claim more than our share, to grasp at treasures that were not meant for us. Our arrogance led us to believe we could defy the very forces we had once respected. It was then that the curse was unleashed upon us, a punishment for our hubris, a cruel reminder that even the mightiest must heed the natural order." Cale paused, the weight of his memories visibly pressing down on him as he spoke, each word tinged with pain. "There was a treasure," he began, his voice trembling slightly. Hidden deep within the Crimson Isles, a trove so great it was said to surpass all others that lay beneath the waves. This treasure was not merely gold or jewels, it was an ancient power, safeguarded by magic so potent that it was beyond our comprehension. A curse was woven into its very essence, a powerful enchantment meant to shield it from those who would seek to exploit its might. He drew a breath, the anguish in his eyes growing deeper. In our pride, we believed ourselves above such protections. We thought ourselves clever enough, strong enough, to breach the defenses that had been set in place. We underestimated the potency of the magic, the wrath of the curse that guarded the treasure. Our arrogance led us to believe that we could overcome any obstacle, that no force could stand in our way. But we were gravely mistaken. Cale's voice fell to a whisper, the sorrow palpable. Our attempt to claim the treasure was met with retribution. The curse was unleashed upon us, an unforgiving force that not only punished our transgression but bound us to a fate we could never escape. The very essence of our pride and folly became the chains that tethered us, a harsh reminder that even those who rule the oceans are not exempt from the balance of nature's laws. Adrian listened intently, the fragments of the story slowly aligning in his mind. His gaze remained fixed on Cale, absorbing the gravity of the ancient prince's tale. The curse, it was more than just a warning, wasn't it? He asked, the question escaping his lips with a mixture of realization and dread. The implications of Cale's words were beginning to crystallize, revealing a darker truth about the curse's nature. Cale's expression darkened as he nodded, the sorrow in his eyes deepened. Yes, Captain, he confirmed, his voice laden with the weight of his burden. The curse was not merely a deterrent or a symbolic gesture. It was a binding force, designed to ensure that those who sought the treasure would not only be met with failure but would also face a fate as cruel as their greed. It was a punishment crafted to reflect the hubris of those who would dare to challenge its magic, ensuring that they would suffer the consequences of their actions. The silence that followed was thick with the realization of what lay ahead. Adrian felt the gravity of Cale's words settle heavily upon him, the truth of the curse becoming an undeniable part of their quest. As the echoes of their conversation lingered in the cold, dark chamber, Adrian understood that the path to the treasure would be fraught with peril far beyond the physical dangers of the journey. Cale nodded, his expression grave as he continued the somber tale. It was a punishment, he began, his voice heavy with the weight of countless years. For our greed, we were cast out of the sea and forced to live on land under the relentless gaze of the moonlight. Our tails became legs, our gills useless in the open air. We were trapped, bound by a curse that severed our connection to the ocean, the very essence of our existence. Stripped of our natural habitat, we became shadows of what we once were, struggling to adapt to a world that was never meant for us. The sorrow in Cale's voice was palpable as he spoke of his people's plight. As time went on, my people began to fade away, he said, his gaze distant as if he could still see the echoes of those who had suffered before him. Unable to survive in a world so foreign to their nature, they withered and died, their once proud civilization reduced to a mere memory. Their fate was sealed by the very treasure they had sought to claim, a tragic reminder of the price of their hubris. The chamber seemed to grow colder as Cale's story unfolded, the darkness around them mirroring the ancient curse that had befallen his people. Adrian listened in stunned silence, the gravity of Cale's words painting a vivid picture of loss and punishment that transcended time. The tale of the merfolk's downfall was not just a legend but a stark reality, making the quest for the treasure even more fraught with peril and moral weight. Cale's voice faltered as he gazed down at his hands, now rough and calloused where once they had been graceful and webbed. The contrast was stark, a physical testament to the transformation he had endured. I am the last of my kind, he murmured, the sorrow in his voice deepening as he spoke. Bound to this island and this cave by the very magic we sought to defy. The curse has left me in a liminal state, walking the land only under the light of the moon. His eyes were distant as he continued, the weight of his words heavy in the dim light. When the sun rises, I am forced back into this form, a prisoner of my own body, my own hubris. The magic that was meant to protect the treasure has instead ensnared me, trapping me in a cycle of suffering. Each dawn brings with it the unbearable reminder of what we have lost, and each night, I am granted a fleeting glimpse of freedom that only serves to highlight my imprisonment. The shadows of the cave seemed to press in around them, echoing the sense of entrapment that Cale described. His plight was a poignant symbol of the consequences of arrogance, a living relic of a bygone era. Adrian felt the gravity of Cale's words and the burden of his curse, understanding now that the stakes were far greater than mere treasure. They involved the very essence of freedom and the haunting specter of past mistakes. Adrian's heart ached with empathy for Cale, sensing the depth of the loss and loneliness that had shaped the prince's existence. The shadows of the cave seemed to grow heavier with the weight of Cale's sorrow, making Adrian's next question feel even more fraught. "Is there no way to break the curse?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mixture of hope and trepidation. He already feared the answer, the gravity of Cale's plight painting a stark picture of the formidable nature of the magic involved. Cale's gaze remained distant, his eyes reflecting the agony of a long-forgotten past. "The curse is bound to the very essence of my being," he explained slowly, his voice carrying a note of resigned sadness. "Breaking it would require more than just a single act of bravery or sacrifice. It demands a profound reckoning with the very magic that ensnares me. The curse was designed to be nearly unbreakable, a testament to the strength of the forces we once sought to control." The cave's oppressive silence seemed to deepen as Cale's words hung in the air, underscoring the bleak reality of his situation. Adrian felt a pang of despair, the realization settling in that the path to breaking the curse was fraught with unimaginable challenges. The notion of hope seemed both tantalizing and distant, as if it lay just beyond reach in the shadows of the cave. Cale shook his head, a melancholic smile barely touching his lips as he spoke. "The curse is ancient, powerful beyond anything we understood," he said softly, the gravity of his words weighing heavily in the dim light of the cave. "It was meant to be unbreakable, a formidable warning to anyone who would dare to seek the treasure." His expression grew more wistful, as if the burden of his fate had become almost a part of him. Despite the weight of his sorrow, a flicker of hope glimmered in Cale's eyes. "And yet, there is one hope," he continued, his voice tinged with a fragile sense of possibility. "One chance to break the chains that bind me." The implication of his words hung in the air, a tantalizing promise amid the desolation, hinting at a potential path through the darkness that enveloped them both. The cave seemed to draw in around them, the shadows deepening and the silence growing thicker as Adrian absorbed Cale's revelation. The idea of a single hope, a chance for freedom from the curse, offered a sliver of light in the oppressive gloom. It was a delicate thread, but it was enough to ignite a spark of determination in Adrian's heart, even as he braced himself for the daunting journey that lay ahead. Adrian's heart quickened, his pulse racing with a mix of urgency and hope. "What is it?" he asked, his voice trembling with anticipation. "What can be done?" His eyes locked onto Cale, desperate for answers as the weight of the ancient curse hung over them like a dark cloud. Cale's gaze remained steady, but the sorrow in his eyes deepened as he continued. "There is an ancient ritual," he began, his voice filled with a mournful gravity. "It involves gathering artifacts of great power, each tied to the elements of earth, water, fire, and air. These artifacts must be brought together at a specific place on the island, a location marked by the convergence of ley lines, where the magic is strongest. Only then can the curse be confronted." As Cale spoke, Adrian felt the enormity of the task sinking in. The path ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, demanding more than just courage. It would require relentless determination and a willingness to face the darkest depths of the island's secrets. Yet, even amidst the daunting nature of the quest, Adrian felt a surge of resolve. If there was even a chance to break the chains that bound Cale, he would see it through, no matter the cost. Cale looked at Adrian, his eyes reflecting a complex blend of hope and resignation. "The curse," he began, his voice tinged with a sense of weary longing, "was intricately tied to the treasure itself, to the greed and arrogance that drove us to seek it. If someone were to claim the treasure with a pure heart, someone who seeks it not for personal gain but with genuine selflessness, there might be a chance to lift the curse. The treasure's magic responds to the intentions of those who seek it, and purity of heart could break the chains that bind us. Adrian listened intently, the weight of Cale's words settling heavily upon him. But, Cale continued, his expression growing somber, it is a perilous path. The magic guarding the treasure is not merely a passive force, it is powerful and vindictive, shaped by centuries of protection and mistrust. It does not forgive easily and will test anyone who approaches it, challenging their resolve and their intentions. The risks are immense, and the journey to confront the curse will be fraught with dangers beyond imagination. Adrian's resolve hardened as he absorbed Cale's warnings. The quest to lift the curse was not just a matter of finding the treasure, it was a test of character and heart. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but the chance to end Cale's suffering and confront the magic's ancient wrath gave Adrian a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the formidable obstacles that lay before him, he knew he could not turn back now. Adrian's thoughts raced as he reflected on the map that had guided him to this point, the promise of unimaginable wealth it held, and the curse that had claimed so many lives. The allure of treasure had always been his driving force, propelling him through countless dangers with the promise of gold just beyond the horizon. He had prided himself on his daring, willing to take risks that others would shy away from, all in pursuit of fortune. Yet now, confronted with the tangible reality of Cale's plight and the ancient curse that had ravaged his people, Adrian's perspective began to shift. The gravity of Cale's situation weighed heavily on him, far surpassing the allure of gold or the thrill of adventure. The realization that his quest for treasure was intertwined with the suffering of a cursed prince brought a profound sense of responsibility. Adrian understood that this was not merely about claiming riches but about confronting a malevolent force that had endured for centuries. The cost of seeking the treasure was no longer a distant concern. It was a tangible burden that pressed down on him, demanding more than he had anticipated. As he faced Cale's sorrowful gaze and the ominous promise of what lay ahead, Adrian's role transformed from that of a mere treasure hunter to a pivotal figure in a struggle against ancient magic. The weight of his responsibility became clear. He was no longer just a man chasing after gold but a crucial player in a larger narrative, where every decision could alter not only his fate but also the outcome of a centuries-old curse. The journey ahead would test not just his courage and skill but his very character, demanding sacrifices he had never before imagined. Adrian's resolve crystallized as he looked at Cale, the weight of his decision settling firmly upon him. "I will help you," he declared, the promise carrying a sincerity that surprised even himself. The words were spoken with an unexpected clarity, as if a deeper part of him had emerged in response to the gravity of Cale's plight. The realization that he was committing to more than just a treasure hunt, a quest that involved lifting a centuries-old curse, marked a significant shift in his journey. The determination in Adrian's voice was unwavering, yet he felt the enormity of the task ahead. Helping Cale was not just about finding a way to break a curse but about confronting the very essence of the magic that had ensnared the prince and his people. It was a challenge that went beyond physical danger. It involved navigating the complexities of ancient spells and the dark magic that had twisted his quest into something far more profound. Adrian understood that his path would now be fraught with trials that tested both his resolve and his integrity. As he spoke, Adrian envisioned the road that lay ahead, a journey into the heart of danger and the unknown. The promise he made to Cale was not a simple vow but a commitment to face the perilous magic and the moral implications of seeking the treasure with a pure heart. His decision to aid Cale had transformed his quest from a pursuit of gold into a mission of redemption and bravery. Adrian knew that the journey would demand more of him than he had ever given, but the thought of freeing Cale from his prison and confronting the curse gave him a newfound sense of purpose and determination. Cale's gaze softened, a glimmer of hope flickering in his deep, oceanic eyes. "Thank you, Captain," he said, his voice carrying a note of gratitude that seemed to pierce through the heavy air of the cave. The spark of hope in his eyes was a fragile thing, yet it shone with a warmth that had long been absent from his existence. Cale's acknowledgement was not just a simple expression of thanks but a profound appreciation for Adrian's willingness to undertake such a perilous mission. The weight of his curse, the loneliness, and the endless longing for freedom all seemed to converge in that moment of gratitude. However, the somber truth of their endeavors soon reasserted itself. Kale's expression turned serious as he continued. But know that this path will not be easy. His voice took on a cautionary tone, laden with the burden of centuries of suffering and the harsh reality of their quest. The treasure they sought was not merely a prize but was enshrouded by formidable forces, ancient magic and mystical barriers that had repelled all previous attempts to claim it. The challenges ahead would test their resolve and their understanding of the arcane forces at play. The finality in Kale's words underscored the gravity of their undertaking. The curse, it will not let go easily, he warned, his gaze lingering on Adrian with a mixture of earnestness and resignation. The curse that had bound Kale and his people was not a mere obstacle but a relentless force, designed to protect the treasure and punish those who dared to seek it. As Adrian absorbed this revelation, the magnitude of their task became even clearer. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, and the promise of liberation would come only through enduring and overcoming the dark magic that guarded the treasure's secrets. Adrian nodded, his resolve solidifying as he met Kale's gaze with unwavering determination. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but his past experiences had forged a spirit that was unyielding in the face of adversity. I've faced dangers before, he declared, his voice steady and resolute. And I'm still here. Each challenge he had encountered on his quest for treasure had only strengthened his resolve and sharpened his resolve. The perils that lay ahead might be unprecedented, but his past triumphs against seemingly insurmountable odds had prepared him for this very moment. He took a deep breath, drawing strength from the trials he had endured and the lessons he had learned. Adrian's eyes reflected a fierce determination as he continued. I won't back down now. The decision was made. There was no turning back. His commitment to freeing Kale and breaking the curse was more than just a quest for gold. It had become a mission bound by a newfound sense of purpose. Adrian's resolve was not merely an assertion of bravery but a declaration of his intention to see the journey through, no matter the cost. The cave's oppressive atmosphere seemed to shift slightly as Adrian's words hung in the air, carrying with them a promise of steadfast courage. The shadows that danced along the walls seemed to acknowledge his resolve, as if the cave itself sensed the unwavering commitment of the man who dared to challenge the ancient forces at play. With his decision firmly set, Adrian prepared to face whatever challenges awaited him, driven by the belief that his strength and perseverance could overcome even the most formidable of curses. Kale smiled, a genuine yet sorrowful expression that spoke volumes of the trials he had endured. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly, revealing a hint of warmth despite the gravity of their situation. Then we must prepare, he said softly, his voice carrying a tone of both acceptance and cautious optimism. For the journey ahead will test us both in ways we cannot yet imagine. The weight of his words was palpable, as if he was acknowledging the daunting challenges that lay before them. His eyes, though weary, held a glimmer of hope, reflecting the belief that their combined efforts might indeed lead them through the perilous path that awaited. The flickering lantern cast shifting shadows across the intricate carvings on the cave walls, mirroring the uncertainty of their quest. Kale's gaze held Adrian's with an intensity that spoke of shared purpose and mutual resolve. But if we succeed, he continued, his voice carrying a note of hesitant anticipation, perhaps there is hope yet for both of us. The possibility of breaking the curse and freeing Kale from his torment seemed like a distant but achievable dream. The prospect of success provided a beacon of hope in the midst of their daunting challenge, reinforcing the fragile yet powerful bond that had formed between them. As the cave's cold, heavy air enveloped them, the two figures stood united in their resolve. Kale's somber smile was a reminder of the stakes involved, while Adrian's determined nod reflected his unwavering commitment to their shared goal. Together, they would embark on a journey fraught with danger and uncertainty, yet driven by the hope of a brighter future. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery, but with each step, they would inch closer to the possibility of breaking the curse and finding redemption, not only for Kale but for themselves as well. As they emerged from the cave, the moonlight bathed the island in a silvery glow, casting elongated shadows that stretched like dark fingers across the uneven terrain. Adrian felt the profound weight of the task ahead press heavily on his shoulders. The revelations of the curse, its formidable power, and the deep anguish it had wrought, had been laid bare within the cave's depths. The burden of this knowledge was both sobering and daunting, underscoring the gravity of their quest. The island's tranquil yet eerie silence seemed to echo the enormity of the challenge that lay ahead. Cale walked beside him, his presence a quiet source of strength amid the uncertainty. The soft glow of the moonlight illuminated his pale features, casting an otherworldly sheen that hinted at the depth of his plight. Adrian's gaze occasionally flickered to Cale, drawing reassurance from the merfolk prince's resolve and calm demeanor. Despite the darkness that loomed, the alliance forged between them felt like a beacon of hope. Cale's solemn promise to confront the curse alongside Adrian lent him a sense of solidarity, a crucial anchor in the midst of their perilous journey. Adrian took a deep breath, the cool night air mingling with the lingering warmth of the cave's oppressive atmosphere. The path before them was shrouded in uncertainty, but with Cale's unwavering companionship, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges they would face were formidable, yet Adrian was determined to confront them head-on. As they ventured forth, the moonlight casting its ethereal glow over the island, Adrian embraced the resolve that had taken root within him. Together, they would navigate the treacherous road ahead, driven by the hope of breaking the curse and discovering what lay beyond. For the first time in his career as a pirate, the promise of treasure transcended mere wealth and glory. Adrian's pursuit was now intertwined with a deeper, more personal quest for redemption. The treasure was no longer just a symbol of riches or the pinnacle of his ambitions. It represented a chance to right wrongs and to address the weight of his past actions. The burden of Cale's curse had reframed the quest, transforming it into a mission of profound significance. Adrian's sense of duty was no longer solely about claiming a prize, but about achieving a form of redemption that extended beyond material gain. Cale's plight had stirred something within Adrian, awakening a sense of responsibility that had previously been overshadowed by his relentless quest for gold. The curse that bound Cale was a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and arrogance. For Cale, it was a personal battle to reclaim his freedom and restore his dignity. For Adrian, it was an opportunity to confront his own flaws and to find a meaningful resolution. This journey was shaping up to be far more complex and rewarding than any he had embarked on before. With renewed resolve, Adrian embraced the challenge before him. The weight of the promise to break the curse and achieve redemption drove him forward with unwavering determination. The road ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, but Adrian was prepared to face whatever obstacles came his way. His commitment to seeing the quest through, regardless of the personal cost, was a testament to the depth of his transformation. The treasure was no longer a mere object of desire but a beacon of hope for both Cale's freedom and Adrian's own redemption. Chapter 8: The Curse's Origins. The cool sea breeze whispered through the entrance of the cave as Adrian and Cale emerged into the moonlit night. The full moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery sheen over the rugged landscape of the island. The light shimmered on the undulating surface of the ocean, transforming the dark waters into a shimmering expanse that stretched endlessly into the horizon. The night was serene, a stark contrast to the intensity of the cave's interior and the gravity of their recent revelations. Cale's usually fluid movements seemed burdened by the weight of his own story, his steps more deliberate and laden with the somber gravity of his curse. The moonlight accentuated the melancholy in his eyes, highlighting the enduring sorrow of a prince who had been denied the sea he once called home. Each step he took was a reminder of his confinement, a slow progression from one realm to another, bound to the land yet yearning for the waters that lay just beyond his reach. Adrian, now fully aware of the stakes, felt a renewed sense of purpose as he surveyed the island under the moon's watchful gaze. The promise of treasure was no longer merely an end goal but a beacon of hope and redemption. With the cool breeze brushing against his face, he took in the island's rugged beauty and the daunting ocean, feeling the weight of their mission settle heavily upon him. The night, though calm and beautiful, was filled with the anticipation of the challenges ahead, as they prepared to embark on a quest that would test their resolve and determine their fates. Adrian's thoughts churned as he and Cale made their way back to the camp. The weight of Cale's story hung heavily on his mind, each detail of the curse and its origins interweaving with his own sense of purpose. The gravity of the ancient magic and the lives it had claimed resonated deeply with him, shifting his perspective on the quest for treasure. The implications of Cale's plight were not just about overcoming physical obstacles but also confronting profound, unseen forces. They reached the campfire, its warm, flickering glow providing a comforting contrast to the chill of the night. The fire crackled softly, its light casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees and offering a semblance of warmth amidst the encroaching darkness. Adrian took a moment to appreciate the brief respite, the firelight a small sanctuary from the weight of their revelations and the challenges that lay ahead. As they settled down beside the fire, Adrian glanced over at Cale, who sat with a distant gaze. Cale's eyes seemed lost in a memory both painful and profound, reflecting the depth of his past and the burden of his curse. The contrast between the warmth of the fire and the cold reality of their mission underscored the complex emotions swirling within Adrian, resolve tempered with a newfound empathy, as he prepared himself for the trials that awaited them. "Tell me more about the sorcerer," Adrian said, breaking the silence that had settled between them. His curiosity was palpable, his desire to understand the origins of the curse and the nature of their adversary growing stronger. "Who was he? Why was he so vengeful?" Cale looked up, his expression a mixture of melancholy and contemplation. "The sorcerer was once a powerful mage of ancient times, a figure shrouded in both awe and fear. His name has been lost to history, but his magic was said to be unmatched. He was driven by a profound sense of betrayal and anger, having been wronged by those who sought to exploit his knowledge and power. His vengeance was not just a personal grudge but a declaration against all who would misuse the magic he had safeguarded." Cale's gaze turned inward as he continued. "His curse was not merely a punishment but a shield, a way to ensure that the treasure he protected would remain hidden from those who lacked the purity of heart to wield it. The sorcerer's wrath was a reflection of his own pain and disillusionment, a way to bind the treasure with a power that would test and ultimately reject the greedy. To him, it was a final act of defiance, a way to exact his revenge on a world that had betrayed him." Cale's gaze shifted back to the fire, his face illuminated by its flickering light, casting shadows that danced across his features. "The sorcerer was once a powerful mage of the Crimson Isles, a figure of great respect and formidable skill. He commanded the ancient magics that governed not only the sea but the land as well, weaving spells that could shape the very fabric of the world. His role was not merely that of a protector but of a guardian, entrusted with the sacred duty of safeguarding the treasure against those who would seek to exploit its power." His eyes seemed to grow distant as he continued. "The sorcerer's mastery over the arcane arts was unparalleled, and his connection to the natural forces was deep and profound. The treasure he guarded was more than a mere collection of riches. It was a source of immense power, capable of influencing the balance between sea and land. This responsibility weighed heavily on him, for he understood the potential dangers of such power falling into the wrong hands. His magic was meant to shield the treasure from those who lacked the wisdom or purity to wield it responsibly." Cale's voice softened as he spoke of the sorcerer's fate. In his efforts to protect the treasure, the sorcerer's actions became a testament to his dedication and his growing distrust. The magic he cast was not just a barrier but a punishment, designed to ensure that only those who truly understood the cost of such power could ever hope to claim it. His curse was a reflection of his sorrow and his disillusionment with a world that he felt was unworthy of the gifts he had safeguarded. In the end, his legacy became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fine line between protection and vengeance." Cale paused, his expression growing somber as he searched for the right words. "But we, in our arrogance, believed we could outwit him. We sought the treasure not with the intent to protect it or honor its power, but to possess it for ourselves. We were blinded by our own sense of superiority, convinced that we were invincible and beyond the reach of any consequences. The sorcerer's warnings were dismissed as mere superstition, a barrier we were determined to overcome." He looked into the flames, his gaze distant and reflective. "We were driven by greed and a sense of entitlement, believing that the treasure was ours by right, a prize to be claimed without regard for the forces we were challenging. Our pride led us to underestimate the sorcerer's magic and the ancient protections he had set in place. We thought ourselves clever enough to bypass his safeguards, to seize the treasure and bend its power to our will. Kale's voice was tinged with regret as he continued. Our hubris was our undoing. We ignored the lessons of the past and paid the price for our overconfidence. The curse that now binds me is a testament to our failure, a punishment for our transgression and a reminder of the consequences of underestimating forces beyond our control. The sorcerer's legacy lives on, a stark warning against the dangers of unchecked ambition and pride. Adrian leaned forward, his curiosity piqued by the gravity of Kale's revelations. So the sorcerer cursed your people because of this? His voice was laced with both intrigue and a hint of disbelief. The idea of a single sorcerer wielding such power over an entire civilization seemed almost mythical, and Adrian struggled to reconcile the ancient tale with the present reality. Kale's eyes remained fixed on the flames as he nodded slowly, the weight of the past clearly burdening him. Yes, the curse was indeed the sorcerer's retaliation for our presumption. The magic he wielded was not just about safeguarding the treasure but about enacting justice for the affront to his guardianship. By seeking to claim what was not rightfully ours, we angered him and invited the full force of his wrath upon us. He sighed, a deep, mournful sound that seemed to echo the ancient sorrow of his people. The curse was a punishment meant to serve as both a deterrent and a reminder. It was designed to ensure that we would suffer the consequences of our greed and pride, a perpetual reminder of our failure. The sorcerer's magic was meant to bind us to this land, stripping us of our true forms and trapping us in a state of unending regret and longing for the sea. Kale nodded, a shadow crossing his face as he recalled the gravity of his people's fate. Yes, he said quietly, the weight of his words palpable. The curse was his ultimate weapon, a punishment designed to ensure that we would never benefit from the power we sought. The sorcerer's intent was to make sure that the treasure we coveted would bring us no joy, only suffering. It was a cruel irony that the very thing we desired most was the key to our undoing. His gaze grew distant, reflecting the complexity of the magic that had once been his people's undoing. It was a complex spell, woven with the magic of the ocean and the land. The sorcerer combined ancient sea magic with the elemental forces of the earth, crafting a curse that was both intricate and inescapable. The spell bound us to a fate where we could neither return to our aquatic home nor thrive on land, trapping us in a limbo of unfulfilled desires and eternal longing. Kale's voice softened as he continued. The curse was more than a mere enchantment. It was a perpetual reminder of our hubris. It was designed to bind us to a fate we could not escape, to ensure that we would forever bear the consequences of our actions. Even now, I feel its grip, a constant reminder of our failure and the price we paid for our arrogance. Adrian's thoughts lingered on the haunting images etched into the cave walls. The carvings we saw, he said, his voice heavy with the weight of the memory. They showed figures being torn from the sea, transformed against their will. Is that what happened to your people? His eyes searched Kale's face for confirmation, the shadows of the fire flickering across their features. Kale's expression grew somber as he nodded slowly. Yes, those carvings depict the very moment our fate was sealed. The images represent the transformation imposed upon us by the sorcerer's curse. We were once beings of the sea, capable of graceful movement through the water. But when the curse took hold, we were forcibly changed, our tails became legs, and the vital connection to the ocean was severed. We were cast onto land, stripped of our identity and forced to exist in a world where we did not belong. He continued, his gaze fixed on the distant fire. The carvings captured the anguish of that transformation, the pain of being torn from our home and bound to a form that was alien to us. It was a punishment not only for our greed but for our failure to recognize the sanctity of the treasure we sought. The curse was a powerful symbol of our hubris, and the carvings served as a lasting testament to the suffering that followed. Kale's expression grew somber, his eyes reflecting a deep, unspoken pain. Indeed, he began, his voice heavy with the weight of memory. The sorcerer's magic was not merely a transformation but a binding, a cruel imposition that went beyond physical change. We were cast from the ocean, our tails turned to legs, and our gills rendered useless. This transformation was a punishment that stripped us of our very essence, severing our connection to the sea and leaving us stranded in a world that was utterly foreign to us. He paused, his gaze distant as he recalled the agony of that moment. We were forced to live in a world that was not our own, struggling to survive in an environment that could not sustain us. The land, with its harsh conditions and alien terrain, became a constant reminder of our fall from grace. Our bodies were ill-suited for survival, and every day was a battle against the forces that sought to claim us. The curse not only punished us but also ensured that our suffering was both relentless and unending. Kale's voice softened, filled with a deep sorrow. The transformation was more than physical, it was a profound violation of our very nature. We became creatures of the land, disconnected from the waters that once defined us. Our once graceful existence was replaced by a life of hardship and longing, a constant reminder of the price we paid for our arrogance. Adrian's mind raced, grappling with the depth of the sorcerer's vengeance and its ramifications. "And you say the curse can only be lifted with the treasure?" he asked, trying to understand the full scope of the challenge before him. The thought of the treasure, once a symbol of ultimate reward, now seemed inseparably linked with the very curse that had condemned Kale and his people. The weight of the task loomed over him, intertwining the quest for gold with the need to confront an ancient magic that had wrought so much suffering. Kale's solemn nod confirmed the gravity of the situation. "Yes," he said quietly, his gaze fixed on the fire. "The curse was intricately tied to the treasure, bound by a spell that merged their fates. To lift the curse, one must confront the very essence of the magic that created it. The treasure holds the key, but accessing it comes with its own set of trials and dangers. It is not merely a matter of claiming it but of overcoming the powerful enchantments that guard it." Adrian absorbed Kale's words, feeling the enormity of the task settling heavily on his shoulders. The treasure was no longer just a prize but a beacon of hope and redemption, demanding both bravery and purity of intent. The path forward would not only test his resolve but also challenge the very limits of his understanding of magic and curses. As he prepared himself for the journey ahead, Adrian knew that every step would be a step towards unraveling the complex weave of fate that bound Kale to his enduring torment. Kale's eyes locked with Adrian's, the depth of his gaze revealing a blend of profound sorrow and a flicker of hope. "Yes," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of his words. "The curse is intricately tied to the treasure, bound to the very greed that drove us to seek it. If someone were to claim the treasure with a heart of purity, free from the taint of personal gain, there might be a chance to break the curse." His expression grew more somber as he continued, the burden of the truth weighing heavily on him. "The challenge lies not only in the nature of the curse but in the formidable magic protecting the treasure," Kale explained, his tone grave. "The enchantments guarding it are designed to test the seeker's intentions and resolve. The curse itself has become a living entity, feeding off the very greed that inspired its creation. It is not merely a barrier to be overcome but a force that actively resists any attempt to undo its power." Adrian listened intently, the enormity of the task before him becoming clearer. The treasure, once seen as a mere prize, was now revealed as a complex and dangerous artifact, its magic intertwined with the curse that had condemned Kale and his people. The quest would demand not only physical bravery but also a purity of heart and purpose, challenging Adrian to confront not just the magical defenses but the very nature of his own desires and intentions. Adrian pondered Kale's words, his mind grappling with the implications. "So, the key to breaking the curse isn't just finding the treasure but approaching it with the right intentions," he said slowly, attempting to grasp the full extent of what was required. The notion of merely locating the treasure seemed insufficient compared to the deeper challenge of proving one's purity of heart. It wasn't simply about overcoming obstacles but about embodying the very virtues that could unravel the curse's dark grip. Kale's solemn nod confirmed Adrian's understanding. "Precisely," he affirmed, his voice carrying the weight of his own long-suffered wisdom. "The curse was designed not just to protect the treasure but to discern the true nature of those who seek it. It tests their intentions, ensuring that only someone with genuine purity, untainted by greed or selfish ambition, can hope to lift its binding power. The treasure itself will only reveal its true nature to those who approach it with the right heart." Adrian's resolve hardened as he considered the challenge before him. The quest was now more than a pursuit of wealth. It was a test of character and integrity. The treasure, once a symbol of riches and glory, had become a beacon of redemption, not only for Cale but for himself. Adrian knew that to succeed, he would have to confront his own desires and prove that his intentions were as pure as his quest was daring. Cale nodded, his expression somber yet resolute. "Exactly," he said, his voice steady with the gravity of the truth he shared. "It is not merely about obtaining the treasure but understanding its significance and approaching it with humility and respect." The weight of his words emphasized that the true challenge lay not in the physical act of retrieving the treasure but in the spiritual and moral journey that accompanied it. The treasure was more than a mere object of desire. It was a symbol of the deeper principles that governed the ancient magic surrounding it. He continued, his gaze intense as he spoke of the magic that protected the treasure. "The magic that guards it will test the seeker's heart," Cale explained, his voice resonating with the echoes of ancient wisdom. "It ensures that only those with truly noble intentions can succeed." This magic was not passive but active, designed to penetrate the depths of one's soul and reveal the purity or corruption within. The treasure was a reflection of the seeker's true nature, and only someone whose heart was untainted by greed or malice would be able to unlock its secrets. Adrian absorbed Cale's words, recognizing the profound nature of the quest before him. The journey was no longer just about courage or skill. It required an introspective honesty that challenged the very essence of his character. To break the curse and claim the treasure, Adrian would need to align his intentions with the noble ideals Cale spoke of, demonstrating a sincerity and respect that transcended mere ambition. Adrian's resolve hardened as he processed the weight of Cale's revelation. "I understand now," he said, his voice carrying the firm conviction of his newfound clarity. "This journey is not just about uncovering a lost treasure." The realization sank in that the quest was far more than a pursuit of material wealth or ancient artifacts. It was a profound test of character and intent, a challenge to prove that something pure and redemptive could emerge from the darkness of a curse that had long seemed insurmountable. He continued, his eyes reflecting a determined gleam. "It's about proving that the curse can be broken," he declared, the words gaining strength with each utterance. Adrian grasped the concept that the journey was an opportunity to demonstrate that even the most potent and malevolent magic could be undone. This quest would test not only his bravery and skill but also the integrity of his heart and the sincerity of his motives. The treasure was a symbol, a catalyst for breaking through the veil of ancient malice. The final part of his realization struck with a sense of purpose. That even the darkest magic can be undone by pure-heartedness, Adrian concluded, the weight of his commitment settling firmly upon his shoulders. This journey was now a personal mission to transcend the limitations imposed by the curse and to show that hope and redemption were possible. He resolved to face the trials ahead with a heart untainted by greed, determined to prove that purity and resolve could overcome even the deepest shadows of magic. Cale's eyes softened, and a trace of a hopeful smile touched his lips, a rare flicker of warmth in his otherwise somber demeanor. "You grasp it well, Captain," he said, his voice carrying a blend of relief and encouragement. The sincerity in Cale's gaze spoke volumes, as though the weight of his centuries-old curse had momentarily lifted. This understanding, this alignment of purpose between them, was a beacon of hope in their otherwise daunting quest. The spark of hope in Cale's eyes suggested that, despite the bleakness of their situation, there was a glimmer of possibility that this journey could indeed lead to redemption. He continued, acknowledging the gravity of their undertaking. "The path ahead will be fraught with challenges," Cale admitted, his tone sober yet imbued with a cautious optimism. Each step forward would test their strength, courage, and the purity of their intentions. The trials they faced would not only be physical but also moral, confronting them with the darkest aspects of the magic they sought to overcome. Cale's words carried the weight of his experiences, a reminder of the many who had tried and failed before them, yet his belief in Adrian's resolve lent a renewed sense of purpose to their endeavor. Cale's final words conveyed a profound sense of possibility. "But with your resolve, there is a chance we can succeed where others have failed," he said, the hope in his voice growing more distinct. The idea that they could achieve what had eluded so many before them was both daunting and exhilarating. Cale's trust in Adrian's determination was a powerful motivator, fueling their shared goal. With this renewed sense of hope and a clear understanding of their mission, Adrian felt a stronger sense of commitment to the journey ahead, ready to face whatever challenges lay in their path with unwavering resolve. Adrian gazed out at the moonlit sea, the tranquil surface reflecting a shimmering silver that seemed almost otherworldly. The waves undulated gently, their dance under the moonlight a silent testament to the promise of what might lie ahead. The vast expanse of the ocean, illuminated by the soft glow of the moon, was both enchanting and daunting. It held within its depths the treasure they sought, a beacon of hope shimmering amidst the darkness, calling to them with the allure of possibility and the challenge of their quest. Turning his attention back to Cale, Adrian's resolve solidified. "Then we have our work cut out for us," he said, his voice steady and filled with determination. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, and the path to the treasure promised to be treacherous. Yet, the conviction in Adrian's tone reflected his readiness to confront whatever lay in their way. His commitment to finding the treasure and breaking the curse was unwavering, fueled by the belief that their combined efforts could overcome even the most formidable obstacles. "We'll prove that even the deepest curses can be lifted," Adrian continued, the words carrying a weight of purpose and hope. His declaration was not just a promise to Cale, but a pledge to himself and to the journey that lay ahead. The challenge before them was immense, but Adrian's determination was matched by a newfound sense of partnership and shared purpose. With Cale by his side, he felt ready to face the trials that awaited them, driven by the conviction that their quest could transcend the boundaries of magic and fate. Cale placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder, the gesture conveying a deep sense of gratitude and solidarity. His touch was firm yet reassuring, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had formed between them in the face of overwhelming odds. "Thank you, Captain," Cale said, his voice carrying a blend of relief and earnestness. "Your willingness to undertake this task is more than I could have hoped for." The weight of Cale's words reflected the gravity of their mission and the hope that Adrian's commitment brought to their quest. The burden of breaking a curse that had endured for centuries was now shared, and the support between them felt both tangible and necessary. As Cale spoke, his gaze shifted to the horizon, where the moonlight continued to bathe the sea in its ethereal glow. "Let us prepare ourselves for the journey ahead," he continued, his tone growing more resolute. "It will test us in ways we cannot yet imagine." The path they were about to embark upon was shrouded in uncertainty and danger, each step fraught with challenges that would push them to their limits. Yet Cale's words carried an underlying optimism, a belief that their courage and determination could overcome the obstacles that lay in wait. With a final squeeze of Adrian's shoulder, Cale's expression softened, reflecting both the weight of their task and the glimmer of hope that fueled their mission. "But with courage and determination, we may yet find a way to end the curse." The promise of their shared endeavor was clear. Despite the daunting nature of their quest, their unity and resolve would be their guiding lights. The journey ahead was formidable, but the strength they drew from each other fortified their spirits, readying them for the trials to come. As they readied themselves for the trials that awaited them, the fire crackled with a steady rhythm, its warmth contrasting sharply with the cool night air. The ocean's gentle whispers seemed to carry secrets of its own, a subtle reminder of the depth and mystery that lay beneath the surface. Adrian felt a profound shift within him, a renewed sense of purpose that anchored him firmly to their quest. The curse's origins, once shrouded in obscurity, were now clearer, its demands and implications laid bare. The understanding of what lay before them infused Adrian with a sense of determination that was both fierce and unwavering. With Cale standing beside him, the weight of their shared mission felt less daunting. The promise of redemption had transformed their goal from a mere pursuit of treasure into something far more significant. The treasure had taken on a new meaning, no longer just a coveted prize but a beacon of hope, representing a chance for both Cale and Adrian to confront and overcome the shadows of their pasts. The idea of redemption for Cale, and a future unburdened by the chains of ancient magic, provided them with a powerful motivation that transcended mere material gain. As they prepared to embark on their journey, Adrian's resolve hardened, his readiness to face whatever challenges lay ahead evident in every step he took. The path to breaking the curse would undoubtedly test their limits, pushing them through trials and tribulations they could scarcely imagine. Yet, with the promise of redemption guiding them and Cale's steadfast presence by his side, Adrian felt an unshakable confidence. Together, they were not just seeking a treasure but striving to reclaim a future that had long been denied by the cruel grip of ancient magic. Chapter 9: Reluctant Allies. The dawn light gently filtered through the trees as Adrian and Cale made their way back to their camp, casting a soft glow over the forest floor. The early morning air was crisp and invigorating, but it did little to ease the heaviness that had settled between them. The revelations of the previous night had profoundly shifted their perspective on the quest ahead, adding layers of complexity and gravity to their mission. They were no longer just two individuals pursuing a treasure. They were now entangled in a web of ancient magic and personal stakes that bound them together in ways neither had anticipated. As they walked, the silence between them was laden with the weight of their newfound knowledge. The shared burden of the curse and the promise of the treasure loomed large, creating a palpable tension that neither could easily ignore. The camaraderie they had begun to build was now overshadowed by the gravity of their task. The journey ahead was not just a physical trek but a profound test of their resolve, as they grappled with the implications of their mission and the personal sacrifices it might demand. Back at the camp, the quiet of the morning offered a stark contrast to the intensity of their previous conversations. The crackling of the fire and the distant calls of birds provided a backdrop to their contemplation, as they prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. Adrian and Cale, now more than just allies, were united by a shared purpose and a mutual understanding of the risks they faced. The dawn marked not only the start of a new day but the beginning of a journey that would test their courage, their bond, and their ability to confront the darkness of the past while striving for a brighter future. As they approached their campsite, Adrian's eyes were drawn to Cale, who walked beside him with a palpable air of cautious determination. The crisp morning air seemed to sharpen the contrasts of their situation, with the ocean's distant roar echoing the enormity of their impending journey. The waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, a constant reminder of the vast and uncertain path that lay ahead. Adrian's gaze lingered on Cale, whose every step seemed imbued with a blend of resolve and unease, mirroring the tumult of thoughts swirling within Adrian himself. The silence between them was heavy, punctuated only by the crunch of gravel underfoot and the distant sounds of the forest awakening. Adrian could sense the unspoken apprehension that clung to Cale, a reflection of his own conflicted emotions. The night's revelations had deepened their mission, intertwining their fates with ancient magic and an elusive treasure. Cale's rigid posture and the occasional fleeting glance toward Adrian spoke volumes about the weight of their shared burden, as if the very air around them was charged with the gravity of their quest. When they finally reached their campsite, the contrast between the tranquility of their temporary refuge and the profound challenges awaiting them was stark. The campfire's flickering light and the stillness of the surrounding forest offered a brief respite from the intensity of their mission. Adrian and Cale settled into their makeshift seats, the crackling fire casting dancing shadows on their faces. As they prepared for the day, the unspoken tension between them lingered, a reminder of the complexities that lay ahead and the fragile hope that their combined efforts might lead to redemption and resolution. They reached the campfire, which had dwindled to a bed of glowing embers, casting a soft, fading light in the early morning. Adrian approached the fire with a practiced hand, gently stirring the embers to coax the flames back to life. The crackling of the kindling and the gradual resurgence of warmth offered a small but welcome comfort against the chilling uncertainty that lay ahead. As the fire's light grew stronger, it dispelled the encroaching shadows of doubt and provided a momentary sense of stability amid their turbulent journey. Cale, meanwhile, settled onto a nearby rock, his posture weary yet resolute. He stared intently at the rejuvenating flames, the dancing light reflecting off his contemplative expression. The flicker of the fire seemed to hypnotize him, drawing his thoughts inward as he wrestled with the gravity of their mission and the burden of his own curse. Each crackle and pop of the fire was a small reminder of the fragile hope that clung to their efforts, a beacon of warmth in the face of their daunting task. As Adrian continued to tend the fire, he glanced occasionally at Cale, sensing the weight of the moments shared in silence. The warmth of the fire contrasted sharply with the cold uncertainty of their quest, yet it provided a necessary pause, a chance for both of them to gather their thoughts and steel themselves for the challenges to come. In the growing light of day, the embers' glow served as a symbol of their shared resolve, a small but vital source of strength as they prepared to confront the trials that awaited them. "So," Adrian began, breaking the silence that had settled over the campsite. "We have a plan. We know what needs to be done." His voice carried a tone of pragmatic resolve, yet it was clear that his thoughts were turning toward the next crucial step. "But it seems we still need to address how we're going to work together." The flickering light from the rekindled fire cast a warm glow on his face, underscoring the seriousness of his words. Adrian's gaze shifted to Cale, whose thoughtful expression mirrored the weight of the conversation that lay ahead. Cale's eyes, reflecting the fire's warm hues, met Adrian's with a mixture of contemplation and acceptance. "Indeed," he replied, his voice steady but laced with a hint of fatigue. "The path we're embarking on will require more than just shared objectives. It will demand cooperation and mutual trust." Cale's tone was measured, his focus intense as he considered the practicalities of their alliance. "We'll face not only the dangers of the treasure's guardians but also the challenge of blending our strengths and skills. Our success hinges not only on our individual capabilities but on our ability to work as one." Adrian nodded, acknowledging the gravity of Cale's words. "We need to establish how we'll handle the trials ahead," he agreed, the firelight dancing in his eyes as he spoke. "Our skills and knowledge are different, but they complement each other. I'll bring my experience in navigating treacherous waters and facing physical threats, while you bring your insight into the ancient magic and its traps." The resolve in his voice was tempered with a sense of practicality, as if recognizing that their journey would test not only their physical endurance but their ability to forge a cohesive partnership. "If we're to succeed, we must understand each other's strengths and limitations and build a strategy that leverages both." Cale looked up from the flickering flames, his expression guarded but thoughtful. "I agree," he said, his voice carrying a weight of reflection. "We have a shared goal, but that doesn't mean our paths will be easy to navigate." His gaze remained fixed on the fire as he spoke, the shifting shadows casting an almost somber light on his face. "We're bound by this quest, but our individual motivations, skills, and approaches are distinct, and they may lead to conflicts or challenges as we move forward." He paused, the silence stretching between them as he considered the implications of their differing perspectives. "Our motivations are different," Cale continued, his voice steady but tinged with a hint of caution. "While the treasure represents a chance for redemption for both of us, the reasons we seek it and the ways we interpret its significance may not always align." His words were a reminder of the complexities that lay beneath their united front, an acknowledgement that their journey would require more than just shared intentions. Cale's eyes met Adrian's with a mixture of resolve and understanding. "We need to recognize these differences and use them to our advantage," he said, a note of determination in his tone. "Our diverse skills can complement each other if we communicate openly and work through our differences. If we can navigate these complexities, we might find a way to succeed in this quest and lift the curse that binds us." The sincerity in his voice underscored the importance of their collaboration, setting the stage for the teamwork that would be crucial for the challenges ahead. Adrian nodded in acknowledgement, the seriousness of Cale's words sinking in. "True," he began, his voice reflecting a newfound clarity. "We're both here for different reasons." He glanced at the crackling fire, its warmth contrasting with the chill of their conversation. "I'm driven by a sense of adventure and the promise of treasure. For me, this quest is as much about the thrill of the chase as it is about the riches at the end." His tone carried a hint of the excitement that initially propelled him, even as he recognized the complexity of their situation. He turned to Cale, meeting his gaze with a thoughtful expression. "You, on the other hand, are seeking redemption and a way to lift the curse," Adrian continued, his voice softening. "Your motives are deeply personal and tied to a profound sense of responsibility." There was a note of respect in his tone as he acknowledged the weight of Cale's quest, understanding that their goals, though linked, were driven by different forces. "It's not the easiest mix," Adrian admitted, a wry smile touching his lips despite the seriousness of the moment. The fire crackled softly as Adrian's words hung in the air, marking the beginning of a deeper understanding between them. "We need to find a way to balance our motivations," Adrian said with resolve. "Our different perspectives and goals might be challenging, but they can also make us stronger if we learn to align them." His determination was clear, a commitment to not only seek the treasure but to ensure that their partnership was productive and respectful, forging a path that could unite their disparate aims into a cohesive journey. Cale sighed deeply, his frustration evident as he rubbed his temples with a weary gesture. The strain of their situation was apparent in his posture, as if he were trying to dispel a headache born of both physical and emotional toll. "I was not expecting to partner with someone like you, Captain," he admitted, his voice tinged with a mixture of exasperation and resignation. "Your pursuit of treasure might seem trivial compared to the high stakes I'm facing." There was a note of discontent in his tone, reflecting the disconnect he felt between his grave quest and Adrian's seemingly more superficial goal. He paused, collecting his thoughts, before continuing with a more subdued tone. "But as much as I resent having to rely on you," Cale said, his eyes meeting Adrian's with a frankness that underscored his vulnerability, "I realize I need your expertise if we're to succeed." The weight of his admission was clear, acknowledging not only the necessity of Adrian's skills but also the internal conflict he felt in having to depend on someone whose motives were so different from his own. The fire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows that danced across their faces, a silent witness to their conversation. Cale's expression softened slightly, his vulnerability giving way to a grudging acceptance. "We're in this together now," he concluded, his voice steadier and more resolute. "If we can find a way to work past our differences and use our unique strengths, we might just have a chance to overcome the challenges ahead." His acknowledgement marked a tentative step toward cooperation, recognizing that their combined efforts could be the key to achieving their intertwined goals. Adrian took a deep breath, the weight of their situation pressing heavily on his shoulders as he considered the gravity of their predicament. "And I need you as well," he began, his voice steady but tinged with a depth of seriousness that matched Cale's. "Your knowledge of the curse and the treasure is crucial to our success." The burden of their quest was beginning to coalesce into a shared responsibility, and Adrian knew that his skills alone would not be enough to navigate the complexities of their challenge. He continued, his gaze fixed on the fading embers of the fire, which mirrored the intensity of his thoughts. "I might be skilled in navigating treacherous waters and deciphering maps," Adrian admitted, "but I can't break an ancient curse without understanding its nature." The realization of his own limitations brought a new clarity to his resolve. He recognized that their combined expertise was not just beneficial but essential, with Cale's insights into the curse complementing his own navigational prowess. The night air was cool, carrying the whispers of the ocean and the crackling of the rekindled fire, creating a quiet backdrop to their conversation. Adrian's acknowledgement of Cale's importance marked a significant shift in their dynamic, shifting from reluctant allies to a more unified front. "So," Adrian concluded, "we both have our roles to play, and it's clear that without each other, either of us would reach our goal. We need to focus on our strengths and find a way to make this partnership work." The determination in his voice underscored his commitment to their shared mission, setting the stage for a more collaborative effort moving forward. Cale's eyes met Adrian's, and for the first time, Adrian saw a glimmer of vulnerability in the merfolk's gaze. The depth of Cale's sorrow and the weight of his past struggles became apparent in that fleeting moment, revealing a side of him that was rarely shown. "I don't trust easily, Captain," Cale admitted, his voice carrying a weight that spoke of years of pain and regret. The hardness in his expression softened just enough to convey the depth of his mistrust, a stark contrast to the confident facade he usually wore. Cale's gaze remained steady as he continued, his tone reflecting the gravity of his words. "My people's fall came from misplaced trust and arrogance," he said, a hint of bitterness creeping into his voice. The sense of betrayal and the consequences of their past decisions were etched deeply into his features, a constant reminder of why he approached the world with such caution. His words revealed the profound impact of their downfall on his psyche, underscoring the importance of trust in their current endeavor. He paused, the silence between them filled with unspoken understanding. I have to be cautious, not just with you, but with every step we take, Cale added, his voice resolute. The solemnity of his statement highlighted the burden of his past and the careful consideration he must apply to every action moving forward. It was a reminder that their journey would be fraught with uncertainties, and that navigating those uncertainties would require not just skill but also a profound trust in each other, however difficult it might be to forge. Adrian nodded, acknowledging the gravity of Cale's concerns. I get that, he said, his voice steady and sincere. Trust is something that has to be earned. His words were a clear acknowledgement of the weight of Cale's reservations, underscoring the importance of building a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Adrian's expression reflected a genuine commitment to addressing Cale's apprehensions and to forging a partnership that could withstand the trials ahead. I won't ask you to trust me blindly, Adrian continued, his tone firm yet reassuring. But I promise I'll give my all to this quest. His declaration was more than a mere promise. It was an affirmation of his dedication to the journey and to Cale's cause. Adrian was determined to demonstrate his worth through actions rather than just words, knowing that true trust could only be built through consistent effort and shared experiences. If we're going to do this, Adrian added, we need to rely on each other's strengths and work through our differences. His statement was a call to action, emphasizing the necessity of collaboration despite their differing motivations. Adrian's resolve to address their divergent goals and perspectives was a crucial step in ensuring their success. It was clear that the path ahead required both unity and an acceptance of their unique roles, demanding a partnership built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to overcoming the challenges that lay before them. Cale's expression softened slightly, a flicker of reluctant acceptance easing the previously guarded look. The tension between them began to wane as he acknowledged the necessity of finding common ground. Very well, he said, his voice carrying a tone of reluctant compromise. If we are to be allies, we need to establish a foundation of mutual understanding. His words reflected a shift in perspective, recognizing the importance of collaboration despite the differences that had initially divided them. I will share everything I know about the curse and the treasure, Cale continued, his gaze steady and earnest. But in return, I need you to respect the gravity of this mission and the dangers we'll face. His request was not merely about the practicalities of their journey, but about acknowledging the deep, personal stakes involved. Cale's willingness to open up was a sign of his commitment to the partnership, underscoring the need for Adrian to fully grasp the seriousness of their undertaking. Adrian nodded, understanding the weight of Cale's request. You have my word, he replied, his tone sincere. I'll respect the gravity of this mission and take every danger seriously. His promise was more than a verbal agreement. It was a commitment to approach the quest with the respect and caution it deserved. The shared acknowledgement of their responsibilities marked a crucial step in solidifying their alliance, setting the stage for a partnership that could navigate the complexities of their quest with a unified resolve. Adrian extended a hand toward Cale, his gesture embodying a blend of agreement and commitment. The act was more than a simple handshake. It symbolized a mutual understanding and a pledge to move forward together despite their differences. Deal, Adrian said firmly, his voice carrying a tone of resolute determination. Let's put aside our differences and focus on what we can achieve together. Cale hesitated for a moment, then grasped Adrian's hand with a firm shake. The exchange was a tangible manifestation of their newfound alliance, a recognition of the shared goal that now bound them. We have a curse to break and a treasure to find, Adrian continued, his eyes locked on Cale's with a determined glint. Let's make this journey count. The words were more than a statement of purpose. They were a call to action, a reminder of the stakes involved and the commitment required. As they released each other's hands, both men felt the weight of their pact settle between them. The air around them seemed to shift, the tension giving way to a focused resolve. The challenges ahead were daunting, but with their differences set aside, they were now united in their quest. Their journey, marked by this moment of understanding, was poised to begin anew with a clear sense of purpose and a shared commitment to overcoming the trials that lay ahead. Cale hesitated for a moment, his gaze flickering between Adrian's earnest expression and the outstretched hand. The tension was palpable, a silent acknowledgement of the uncertainty that lay ahead. Finally, with a deep breath, Cale reached out and clasped Adrian's hand. The handshake was firm, though tinged with reluctance, reflecting the weight of their agreement and the gravity of their shared mission. "Agreed," Cale said, his voice steady despite the underlying strain. The simple word carried a depth of commitment and a reluctant acceptance of their new partnership. As their hands met, the exchange was more than a formality. It was a crucial step in their evolving alliance, a gesture of mutual respect amidst their differing motivations and the daunting quest that lay before them. "Let's get to work," Cale added, his tone shifting to one of resolute determination. The statement marked a transition from the uncertain discussions to the practicalities of their journey. With the handshake concluded, both men turned their attention to the tasks ahead, their united front ready to face the trials and challenges that awaited them. The air seemed to clear, their combined resolve setting the stage for the arduous path they were about to embark upon. As the sun ascended higher in the sky, bathing the camp in a warm, golden light, the day's work began in earnest. Adrian moved with purpose, gathering supplies and meticulously checking their maps, his hands deftly handling the equipment that would be crucial for their journey. The morning light caught the glint of metal and the rustle of parchment, emphasizing the seriousness with which he approached the task. His focus was unwavering, driven by a resolve to ensure they were fully prepared for the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Cale immersed himself in ancient tomes and scrolls, his brows furrowed in concentration as he pored over the texts. The weight of the curse and the complexity of the treasure's protection were evident in the urgency with which he studied the old writings. Each page turned with a sense of determination, reflecting the depth of his commitment to understanding the intricate magic that bound them to this quest. The air around him seemed to hum with the intensity of his efforts, as he sought any clue that might aid in breaking the curse. Despite the differences in their methods and motivations, an unspoken understanding hung between them, weaving through the tasks they performed. The charged atmosphere was a testament to their mutual resolve, each man recognizing that their success depended on their ability to collaborate effectively. As they worked side by side, the friction of their past interactions softened, replaced by a shared focus on the goal that lay before them. The promise of redemption and the weight of the curse bound them together, forging a partnership that, despite its beginnings, was now marked by a tangible, collaborative effort. The journey that lay ahead was laden with obstacles, each one a testament to the formidable nature of their quest. Yet, for the first time, a sense of unity began to crystallize between Adrian and Cale. The vast unknowns of the path to the treasure seemed less daunting as they recognized the strength of their newfound alliance. Despite the uncertainties and the weight of the curse that loomed over them, their shared determination provided a glimmer of hope that illuminated their way forward. As they ventured into the heart of the Crimson Isles, the path to the treasure remained enshrouded in secrecy and challenge. The intricate web of magic and danger that guarded the fabled prize was still largely unknown, and each step forward was a plunge into the depths of mystery. However, with their alliance cautiously solidified, Adrian and Cale moved forward with a resolve that transcended their individual motivations. The blend of their skills and knowledge offered a promising advantage, hinting at the potential for success despite the daunting nature of their task. Bound by their common goal, Adrian and Cale embarked on their journey with a renewed sense of purpose. Their reluctant partnership was now tempered by the hope that, through their combined efforts, they might not only break the ancient curse but also uncover the secrets concealed within the heart of the Crimson Isles. The promise of redemption for Cale and the allure of the treasure for Adrian fused into a powerful drive, fueling their resolve as they faced the trials that lay ahead. Chapter 10: A Growing Bond. The sun had fully risen by the time Adrian and Cale embarked on their quest, its golden rays spreading warmth and clarity over the land. The light of the morning seemed to gently dissolve some of the tension that had lingered from their earlier discussions. The first light of day brought with it a renewed sense of purpose, as if the sun itself was encouraging them to set aside their uncertainties and focus on the journey ahead. The earlier darkness of doubt was replaced by the promise of a day filled with opportunity and resolve. With their supplies meticulously packed and their route carefully mapped, Adrian and Cale were ready to face the trials that awaited them. Every detail had been considered, from provisions to navigation, ensuring they were well prepared for the challenges that lay in wait. Their combined efforts in planning and preparation reflected a deepening commitment to their shared goal, a testament to their growing cooperation. The preparations were more than just logistical. They symbolized the beginning of their tentative alliance taking shape. As they began to move toward the unknown, the physical distance between them seemed to shrink, mirroring the gradual closing of the emotional gap that had once separated them. Each step they took together on this new path was a step towards understanding and mutual respect. The journey, though fraught with uncertainty, was now a shared endeavor, and with every mile they covered, the partnership between Adrian and Cale solidified. The promise of their quest ahead forged a new bond, one that held the potential to overcome the shadows of their past and illuminate the path to their ultimate goal. Their journey led them through dense, untamed forests, where the canopy of trees blocked out much of the sunlight, and the air was thick with the scent of earth and pine. The terrain varied from rocky outcrops that required careful navigation to winding paths that twisted and turned, pulling them deeper into the island's mysterious heart. Each day presented its own set of challenges, from navigating treacherous undergrowth to scaling rugged hills. The isolation of their environment only amplified their shared experience, pushing them to rely on each other's strengths. As the days wore on, the initial awkwardness that had marked their interactions began to fade, gradually giving way to a more comfortable and genuine camaraderie. The daily trials they faced together, whether fending off unexpected storms or deciphering cryptic clues from the old tomes Cale had brought, served to bridge the gap between them. Shared victories and struggles brought them closer, allowing them to see each other not just as allies in a quest but as individuals with their own strengths and vulnerabilities. The growth of their relationship was subtle but significant. What began as a reluctant partnership evolved into a mutual respect born of countless shared experiences. As they navigated the island's challenges, they found themselves working together seamlessly, their initial reservations giving way to a genuine bond. The camaraderie that developed was not anticipated, but it proved to be a vital component of their journey, strengthening their resolve and enhancing their ability to face the obstacles that lay ahead. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the landscape, Adrian and Cale made camp beside a serene lake. The lake's surface was a mirror, perfectly reflecting the ancient trees that encircled it, their gnarled branches stretching out like watchful guardians. As they set up their camp, Adrian took a moment to step away from their tasks and sit on a large, smooth rock at the water's edge. The tranquility of the lake contrasted sharply with the intensity of their quest, offering a rare moment of calm reflection. Adrian watched as Cale busied himself preparing dinner over the campfire. The merfolk's movements, once cautious and hesitant, had grown more relaxed and confident over time. The meticulous way Cale arranged the ingredients and tended to the fire spoke of a newfound ease and sense of belonging. Adrian noted the subtle shift in Cale's demeanor, from the distant and reserved figure he had first encountered to someone who now worked with purpose and even a touch of pride. It was a sign of the camaraderie they had built, a testament to their evolving partnership. As Adrian observed Cale, he felt a stirring of emotions that he hadn't fully acknowledged before. The sight of the merfolk, once a symbol of enigma and distance, now fully immersed in their shared journey, evoked a sense of connection in Adrian. He realized that the quest for the treasure and the curse had forged not only a bond of necessity, but also one of mutual respect and understanding. The journey, with its trials and triumphs, had transformed their relationship into something deeper, turning their alliance into a true partnership. "Cale," Adrian said, his voice gently breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between them. The evening's tranquility seemed to invite conversation, and Adrian found himself curious about the life Cale had once known. "I've been meaning to ask. What was it like living in the sea?" His tone was soft but earnest, reflecting the genuine interest he felt in understanding more about his companion's past. Cale paused in his task, a thoughtful expression crossing his face as he looked out across the calm waters of the lake. The flickering firelight cast dancing shadows on his features, revealing a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. Living in the sea, he began, his voice carrying a wistful quality, was like being part of a vast, ever-moving world. The ocean was our home, a realm of endless horizons and deep mysteries. It was a place where the currents whispered ancient secrets, and where every reef and kelp forest held its own stories. We were in harmony with the rhythms of the water, connected to its ebb and flow. As Kale spoke, his words painted vivid images of a world beneath the waves, filled with beauty and wonder. He described the freedom of gliding through the water, the vibrant colors of the coral reefs, and the sense of unity among his people. There was a profound sense of loss in his voice, mingled with the deep affection he still held for his lost home. Adrian listened intently, captivated by the glimpses of Kale's past and the stark contrast to the world they now inhabited. The conversation deepened their bond, as Adrian gained a richer understanding of the stakes and sacrifices that drove Kale in their quest. Kale glanced up from the fire, a look of nostalgia crossing his face as he searched for the right words to convey the depth of his memories. "It was beautiful," he began, his voice carrying a wistful tone. "The ocean is a world unto itself, full of wonders and mysteries that you can only begin to grasp when you're immersed in it. We lived in a realm where the rhythms of the deep governed everything, from the rise and fall of the tides to the movement of the creatures that shared our home." He continued, his gaze drifting toward the tranquil lake, the firelight casting a warm glow on his features. There was a profound sense of harmony with the currents, a connection that allowed us to glide effortlessly through the water. Every day was an exploration of the vibrant ecosystems that thrived beneath the waves. The coral reefs were like bustling cities, and the vast open ocean was an endless expanse of possibilities. It was a freedom that is hard to describe, but it shaped who we were. As Kale spoke, his words painted a vivid picture of a life filled with beauty and wonder, highlighting the stark contrast between his past and their present circumstances. The sense of loss in his voice was palpable, revealing how deeply he felt the separation from his former life. Adrian listened intently, moved by the glimpse into Kale's world and the realization of the magnitude of what had been taken from him. Adrian nodded, his curiosity piqued by Kale's evocative description. "I can imagine," he said thoughtfully. "I've always been drawn to the sea, but from a distance. The way you describe it, so vibrant and alive, it sounds like a dream." He paused, considering the contrast between his own experiences and Kale's lost world. "There's something about the ocean that has always captivated me, but I've never truly known it beyond the surface." He looked out across the serene lake, trying to visualize the underwater paradise Kale had described. "The sea has always been a symbol of adventure and mystery to me," Adrian continued, his tone reflective. "Hearing you speak about it, though, adds a new layer of depth to my understanding. It's as if I'm getting a glimpse of a world I've only imagined." As the fire crackled softly, Adrian's expression softened, touched by the profound sense of loss Kale carried with him. "It must be incredibly hard to be away from something so beautiful," he said, his voice carrying a note of empathy. "But I hope that by working together, we can help you find a way back to that world, or at least bring a part of it with us." Kale's eyes softened as he spoke, his voice carrying a blend of longing and sincerity. "It was," he said, his tone tinged with a poignant wistfulness. "The ocean was more than just a home. It was a living entity, a part of us. But now, it's a world that was taken from us. Each wave, each whisper of the sea, is a reminder of what we once had and what we've lost." He paused, gazing out across the tranquil lake with a look of deep contemplation. "It's both a source of sorrow and a beacon of hope. Every time I see the sea, it brings back memories of the freedom and beauty we enjoyed. But it also fuels the hope that one day, we might reclaim that world, or at least find a way to restore a part of it." Kale's expression grew resolute as he continued. "The journey we're on, this quest for the treasure, it's not just about lifting the curse. It's about reconnecting with something that was taken from us and finding a way to heal the wounds of the past. I hold on to that hope with everything I have." As they sat by the campfire, their conversation meandered through a tapestry of shared stories and experiences, gradually weaving a bond between them. Adrian spoke animatedly about his adventures on the high seas, recounting the perils he had faced and the exotic locales he had explored. His tales were filled with daring escapades and narrow escapes, each story reflecting his deep-seated passion for adventure and discovery. The firelight danced across his face as he recounted his encounters with stormy weather, treacherous waters, and the colorful characters he had met along the way. In response, Cale's voice took on a reverent tone as he delved into the mysteries of the ocean. He shared enchanting stories of underwater kingdoms, where majestic sea creatures roamed and ancient magics flowed like currents. His descriptions painted vivid pictures of coral cities bathed in bioluminescent light and the ethereal beauty of the deep. Through his words, Adrian could almost see the world Cale had once known, a realm of wonder and enchantment that contrasted sharply with the harsh reality of his current existence. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, the exchange revealed a surprising common ground between them. Each story, whether of a pirate's daring exploits or the merfolk's magical heritage, highlighted the universal themes of exploration, bravery, and the quest for meaning. As they listened to one another, a sense of mutual respect began to blossom, bridging the gap between their disparate worlds and drawing them closer together. One night, as the campfire crackled softly beside them and the vast expanse of stars stretched out above, Adrian turned to Cale with a contemplative look. The fire's warm glow cast flickering shadows on their faces, adding an intimate touch to the night's quiet. Adrian's voice held a hint of introspection as he began to speak. "You know, I never thought I'd end up on a quest like this. It wasn't what I planned for. My life was all about the thrill of the chase, the lure of hidden treasures, and the excitement of uncharted territories. But now, with each passing day, this journey has become something much more profound." Cale listened intently, the firelight reflecting in his eyes, his expression a mix of curiosity and understanding. Adrian continued, his tone reflecting a deeper sense of reflection. "Having you here, hearing your stories about the sea and the curse, and seeing the dedication you bring to this quest, it's changed my perspective. I've come to realize that there's more at stake than just the treasure we seek. It's about understanding and redemption, the weight of past mistakes, and the possibility of reclaiming something precious that was lost." As Adrian's words lingered in the air, Cale felt a stir of gratitude and hope. The shared experiences and the quiet moments under the stars had forged a bond between them that transcended their initial differences. Adrian's revelation was a testament to the evolving nature of their quest, one that had transformed from a pursuit of riches into a journey of mutual respect and deeper meaning. In that moment, the two men found a new layer of connection, united not just by their quest but by the shared understanding of the stakes involved. Cale gazed at Adrian, the vulnerability in his eyes unmistakable, a silent testament to the unspoken bond that had grown between them. There was a depth to his gaze, a quiet plea for understanding that belied the strength he often projected. "I never expected to find an ally in you," Cale began, his voice soft but steady, as if the words themselves carried the weight of his people's past. His admission was not just an acknowledgement of their unexpected partnership, but a recognition of the trust that had developed, almost against his will. It was a rare moment of openness from someone who had always guarded his heart so fiercely. The fall of Cale's people was a subject steeped in pain and regret, a wound that had never truly healed. "My people's fall came from our arrogance and isolation," he continued, his tone laced with the bitterness of hindsight. There was a time when his people had believed themselves invincible, their strength derived from their unwillingness to rely on anyone else. But that strength had become their greatest weakness, blinding them to the world beyond their borders and leading them to a downfall they had never anticipated. Cale's words hung in the air, a somber reflection of a history marked by pride and the heavy cost it had exacted. Yet, as Cale spoke, there was a shift in his demeanor, a subtle change that hinted at the possibility of something more. "But your willingness to help," he said, looking directly into Adrian's eyes, "despite your own reasons for being here, has shown me that perhaps there's still room for redemption and understanding." There was a sincerity in his voice that was impossible to ignore, a glimmer of hope that had been absent for so long. Adrian's actions, driven by his own motivations, had somehow managed to break through the walls Kale had built around himself, offering a glimpse of a future that was not defined by past mistakes. In that moment, Kale realized that redemption was not just about righting past wrongs but about forging new connections, allowing oneself to be vulnerable and open to change. The trust he now placed in Adrian was a sign of that change, a step toward healing the deep wounds that had festered for too long. It was not an easy path, and the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in a long while, Kale felt that there was a way forward. He had found an ally where he least expected it, and with that ally, the possibility of redemption and understanding no longer seemed so distant. Their journey together, fraught with challenges and unexpected twists, had forged a bond between Adrian and Kale that transcended mere necessity. What had begun as a partnership of convenience, driven by their mutual need to survive, had evolved into something far deeper. The countless trials they had faced, from treacherous landscapes to the ever-present threat of their enemies, had pushed them to their limits, revealing their true characters. In those moments of vulnerability and shared struggle, a connection was formed, one built on trust, respect, and a growing sense of camaraderie. This bond was no longer just about survival. It had become a vital part of who they were as individuals and as a team. As their relationship deepened, the differences that had once seemed insurmountable began to fade into the background, replaced by a sense of fascination and mutual respect. Where there had once been suspicion and doubt, there was now a genuine curiosity about each other's lives and cultures. Kale, who had once viewed Adrian as an outsider, began to see the value in Adrian's unique perspective and skills. Adrian, in turn, came to appreciate the depth of Kale's knowledge and the wisdom that came from his connection to the ancient lore surrounding the curse and the treasure. These differences, rather than driving them apart, became the very things that drew them closer, enriching their partnership and strengthening their resolve. They quickly learned to rely on each other's strengths, their individual talents complementing one another in ways they could never have anticipated. Adrian's navigational skills, honed through years of experience, became indispensable as they charted their course through uncharted territories and dangerous waters. His resourcefulness in the face of adversity provided them with the tools and strategies needed to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Meanwhile, Kale's deep knowledge of the curse and the ancient lore that surrounded the treasure proved invaluable, guiding them through the many mysteries and dangers that lay in their path. Together, they became a formidable team, their bond not just a product of circumstance but a testament to the power of collaboration and mutual respect. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape, Adrian and Kale found themselves deep within a hidden cave, its entrance obscured by thick vines and ancient rock formations. The air inside was cool and damp, a stark contrast to the warmth of the day outside. Their footsteps echoed softly against the stone as they ventured further into the darkness, guided only by the flickering light of their torches. This cave, rumored to hold clues about the elusive treasure they sought, was a labyrinth of twisting passages and narrow corridors. Every step they took felt like a journey back in time, each wall a silent witness to the secrets it held. As they pressed on, the tension of the unknown hung heavy in the air, but there was also an unspoken trust between them, a trust that had been earned through shared trials and triumphs. Adrian couldn't help but steal glances at Kale as they moved deeper into the cave. The way Kale carried himself, with a quiet confidence and unwavering focus, was nothing short of impressive. He watched as Kale approached the walls of the cave, his eyes scanning the ancient inscriptions that had long been forgotten by the outside world. There was a calm determination in Kale's movements, a sense that he was in his element, navigating a world that few others could even begin to understand. Adrian found himself in awe of Kale's expertise, the way he seemed to effortlessly decipher the symbols and markings that adorned the stone walls. Each inscription revealed a piece of a larger puzzle, and Kale was the key to unlocking it. As they paused in front of a particularly intricate set of carvings, Adrian felt a deep sense of humility wash over him. Despite all his own skills and experiences, there was something profoundly humbling about witnessing Kale's mastery firsthand. It wasn't just that Kale had knowledge Adrian lacked, it was the way he approached each discovery with a blend of curiosity and reverence. treating the ancient lore with the respect it deserved. Adrian realized that while he had been focused on the practical aspects of their quest, navigation, survival, and strategy, Cale had been the one to keep them connected to the history and meaning behind their journey. It was a reminder that their strengths, though different, were equally important, and that together, they were greater than the sum of their parts. As the evening wore on and the cave's secrets slowly began to unfold, Adrian felt a newfound respect for Cale. The bond between them, already strong, was deepened by this shared experience, as they both recognized the value in what the other brought to their partnership. For Adrian, it was a moment of clarity, an acknowledgement that their journey was not just about finding the treasure, but about understanding the significance of what they were seeking. Cale's expertise was not just a tool for solving puzzles. It was a window into a world that had been lost to time, a world that they were now, together, on the brink of rediscovering. And in that moment, Adrian knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side, as equals in this quest for something greater than themselves. As Adrian stood back, watching Cale meticulously examine the ancient inscriptions etched into the cave walls, he couldn't help but be struck by the ease with which Cale deciphered the cryptic symbols. Each movement of Cale's hand seemed deliberate, his fingers tracing the grooves in the stone as he murmured to himself, piecing together the fragments of a forgotten language. The glow of the torchlight danced across Cale's face, highlighting the concentration in his eyes. Adrian felt a sense of admiration welling up inside him, realizing just how crucial Cale's expertise was to their quest. This wasn't just about following a map or navigating treacherous terrain. This was about understanding the deeper mysteries that had been hidden for centuries, and Cale was the one who could bring those mysteries to light. "You've got a real gift for this," Adrian said, his voice tinged with genuine respect as he watched Cale at work. The words came out almost involuntarily, a reflection of the awe he felt in that moment. Adrian knew that he was no stranger to challenges and problem-solving, but what Cale was doing went beyond anything he could have achieved on his own. There was a certain artistry to it, a blend of intellect and intuition that Adrian found both fascinating and humbling. The way Cale approached the task, with a combination of scholarly insight and almost instinctive understanding, made it clear that this was more than just a skill, it was a true gift. Adrian realized that without Cale's unique talents, they might have been wandering these dark corridors forever, blind to the secrets that lay hidden in the stone. Cale paused, looking up from the inscriptions with a modest smile as Adrian's words sank in. "I don't think I would have figured any of this out on my own," Adrian admitted, the sincerity in his tone unmistakable. It was a rare thing for him to acknowledge his own limitations, but in Cale's presence, it didn't feel like a weakness. Instead, it felt like an affirmation of the partnership they had forged, a recognition that they each brought something essential to the table. For a moment, the weight of their quest felt a little lighter, bolstered by the knowledge that they were in this together, each contributing in ways the other could not. As they continued their exploration of the cave, Adrian knew that this was a moment he would carry with him, a reminder of the respect and trust that had grown between them, and the strength they found in one another. Cale paused in his work, his fingers lingering on the ancient inscriptions as he turned to glance back at Adrian. The faint torchlight illuminated his features, softening the usually stoic expression he wore. In that moment, a rare, genuine smile spread across his face, one that reached his eyes and reflected an unexpected warmth. It was a smile that spoke of more than just gratitude. It was an acknowledgement of the bond that had formed between them, a connection built on mutual respect and shared challenges. For someone like Cale, who had spent so much of his life guarding his emotions, this smile was a rare gift, a brief glimpse into the heart of a man who had seen and endured much. "And you've shown me a different kind of bravery, Captain," Cale said, his voice steady but imbued with a sincerity that Adrian hadn't often heard from him. "Not just in facing danger, but in confronting the complexities of this quest with an open mind." Cale's words were measured, carefully chosen, and they carried the weight of someone who had long been skeptical of others' intentions. In the time they had spent together, Cale had come to realize that Adrian's courage was not just physical, it was also intellectual and emotional. Adrian's willingness to adapt, to question, and to embrace the uncertainties of their journey had surprised Cale in the best possible way. It was a kind of bravery that Cale hadn't expected from a man known for his decisive leadership and quick thinking, and it had left a lasting impression. As Cale's smile faded into a more contemplative expression, he continued, "It's something I didn't expect, but I'm grateful for it." There was a quiet earnestness in his tone, an admission that wasn't easy for him to make. Cale had spent much of his life relying on his own knowledge and instincts, often keeping others at arm's length. But Adrian had shown him that there was strength in openness, in allowing oneself to be challenged and changed by new experiences and perspectives. The gratitude Cale felt wasn't just for Adrian's bravery, but for the way it had influenced him, pushing him to reconsider his own approach to their quest. In this moment of shared vulnerability, Cale recognized that their partnership had become something far more significant than either of them had anticipated, something that had the potential to change them both for the better. As their quest progressed, the evolving bond between Cale and Adrian became increasingly evident in the way they communicated and collaborated. Where once there had been hesitation and formality, now there was an easy flow to their interactions, a natural rhythm that spoke of the trust they had built. They moved in sync, anticipating each other's needs and working together seamlessly as if they had been partners for far longer than the time they had known each other. This change was most noticeable in their conversations, which had shifted from terse exchanges to lively discussions, punctuated by knowing glances and shared understanding. Their journey, once filled with uncertainty, was now navigated with the confidence that came from knowing they could rely on one another completely. Laughter became a frequent companion on their journey, something neither had expected when they first set out. They found themselves sharing jokes, often in the midst of their most challenging moments, the humor serving as a balm against the hardships they faced. These light-hearted moments, woven into the fabric of their quest, were as important as any battle they fought or puzzle they solved. The camaraderie that developed between them was born out of these shared experiences, where laughter eased the tension and reminded them of the humanity they both possessed. When the challenges grew intense, they supported each other without hesitation, whether through a steadying hand or a few encouraging words. In these moments, they found comfort not just in the mission, but in each other's presence, the bond between them deepening with every obstacle they overcame together. The partnership that had begun with reluctance and uncertainty had transformed into something far more profound. What had once been a tentative alliance, born out of necessity, had evolved into a relationship marked by mutual respect and camaraderie. They were no longer simply two individuals with a shared goal. They had become true partners, each bringing out the best in the other. The trust that had taken root in the early days of their quest had blossomed into something enduring, a connection that neither had anticipated but both had come to cherish. As they journeyed onward, it was clear that their bond had become as vital to their success as any map or weapon, an unspoken understanding that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, side by side. By the time they reached the edge of the Crimson Isles, the bond between Adrian and Cale had solidified into something unbreakable, a testament to the transformative power of shared experiences and the genuine connection they had forged along the way. The journey had tested them in ways neither had anticipated, pushing them to confront not only the external dangers but also their own inner doubts and fears. Yet, through every trial, they had found solace in each other's company, a sense of belonging that had grown stronger with each passing day. The Crimson Isles, with their foreboding cliffs and treacherous waters, stood as a final test, but Adrian and Cale were no longer the tentative allies they had been at the beginning. They were now partners in the truest sense, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. As they prepared for the final leg of their journey, the atmosphere between them was one of quiet determination and mutual respect. Gone were the days of guarded exchanges and unspoken suspicions. In their place was a seamless collaboration, born of trust and understanding. Adrian, once wary of Cale's mysterious knowledge, now relied on it as much as his own instincts, recognizing that Cale's expertise was indispensable to their success. Cale, in turn, had come to appreciate Adrian's leadership and unwavering resolve, qualities that had guided them through countless perils. Their initial differences, which had once seemed like insurmountable barriers, had become a source of strength. Each brought something unique to their partnership, and together, they were greater than the sum of their parts. As they stood at the precipice of the Crimson Isles, facing the challenges that lay ahead, Adrian and Cale did so with a united front. The treacherous terrain and the unknown dangers that awaited them no longer felt like insurmountable obstacles, but rather the final hurdles in a journey they had undertaken together. Their bond, once fragile and uncertain, had become a pillar of strength, a foundation upon which they could build their final push towards the treasure they sought. They knew that whatever trials awaited them, they would face them side by side, their partnership a testament to the power of trust, respect, and the deep connection that had grown between them. With a shared glance and a nod of understanding, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever the Crimson Isles had in store. The path to the treasure remained fraught with danger, every step forward revealing new challenges and unknown threats lurking in the shadows. The Crimson Isles, with their jagged cliffs and treacherous waters, were as unforgiving as they were mysterious. Yet, with each perilous turn, Adrian and Cale found strength in one another, their bond a steadying force amid the chaos. What had begun as a partnership of necessity had transformed into a profound connection, one that neither had anticipated but both had come to rely on. Their deepened connection was no longer just a matter of convenience. It had become a lifeline, a source of unwavering support as they ventured deeper into the heart of the unknown. Every obstacle they encountered was met with a shared resolve, a testament to the trust they had built and the respect that had grown between them. The quest had long since evolved beyond its original purpose. What had started as a mission to break a curse and find a lost treasure had become something far more significant. The treasure, once the sole focus of their efforts, now seemed secondary to the journey itself, a journey that had tested them in ways they could never have imagined. It was no longer just about the physical challenges they faced, but about the emotional and psychological hurdles they had overcome together. The curse, once a symbol of their individual burdens, had become a shared challenge that had drawn them closer, uniting them in their determination to see the quest through to the end. Each step forward was no longer just a march toward riches but a continuation of the bond they had forged. As they moved deeper into the Isles, the trials they faced took on a new meaning. Every danger they overcame was a testament to their growth, both as individuals and as partners. Adrian, who had once been driven by a singular focus on the treasure, found himself more invested in the journey itself, in the lessons he was learning and the connection he was building with Cale. Cale, too, had changed. His guarded nature had softened, allowing him to open up in ways he hadn't thought possible. The respect he had for Adrian had grown into something more profound, something that fueled his determination to see their quest through not just for the treasure, but for what it meant for both of them. The journey had become a crucible, forging their bond in the fires of shared struggle and triumph. As they approached the final leg of their journey, the treasure was no longer just a goal to be achieved. It had become a symbol of everything they had endured together. The dangers that lay ahead were still daunting, but they faced them with a newfound confidence, knowing that they had each other to rely on. Their journey had been about more than just breaking a curse or uncovering a long-lost hoard of riches. It had been about discovering what they were truly capable of when they worked together, about the strength that came from their connection. The treasure, whatever it turned out to be, would be a reward not just for their perseverance, but for the bond they had forged along the way. As they stepped forward into the unknown, they did so with a sense of purpose that went beyond gold and jewels. It was a purpose rooted in the journey they had shared and the partnership that had grown from it.